So 8.3, or 8-3, right? The quotient of powers property. So yesterday we worked with, or the last couple of days, we worked with multiplication. When you multiplied, you added those exponents. When you are dividing, you will subtract those exponents. So that's basically what we're doing here. Now, so for example one, I'm just going to kind of write this out in expanded form so you see why this works. So as we are looking at this, right, we've got 5 to the 4th divided by 5 to the 3rd. So what you're doing is that's basically 5 times 5 times 5 times 5. And then we're dividing that by 5 times 5 times 5. So what's happening here is anything over at the top of the same number, right? If you have anything over the top of that's the top and bottom are the same numbers, right? If we have 3 over 3, that's going to equal 1, right? So both of these basically cancel and give you 1, so we can cancel them out. So the 5, 5, 5, all those cancel. So you end up with getting an answer of just 5 as our final answer. Okay, so that's a simplified version. But basically what we're doing is, if you look at example 2 then, if you have the same base, then you're basically doing that base, right, -3, and then you're subtracting 6 minus 4. All right, so -3, and we have 6 minus 4, so that would be -3 to the second power. All right, -3 to the second power, and parentheses to keep that negative with that number. Looking at the third one with dealing with algebra, we have x to the 8th power and x divided by x to the 10th. So you're doing x to the 8 minus 10. So that's going to equal x to the -2 power. And as long as we can leave it as a -2 power, it's not a problem. And then finally, w to the 4th, x to the 3rd over x squared. So if you don't have anything that's the same on the top and the bottom, then that exponent or that variable is going to stay the same. So this is going to be w to the 4th, and then x to the 3rd minus x to the 2nd is going to be x to the 1st, or just x. We could just leave it as x if we want to. We don't have to put x to the 1st. So that's the first part of our notes. Second part, simplifying expressions. So we're going to follow the rules for multiplication and division to allow us to solve these more easily, right? So 6 squared times 6 to the 3rd. So if I think about that, that would be like 6 to plus 3 over 6 to the 4th. And so that means that would give me, I'd finally get an answer of 6 to the 5th over 6 to the 4th, which is really subtract. So we get an answer of just 6, because it's 6 to the 5 minus 4, which gives us an answer of just 6, or 6 to the 1st power. All right, example 2, -7 to the 8th power over -7 times -7 to the 3rd power. So the first thing we want to do is simplify anything on here that we can before we do the division. So we have multiplication to deal with. So we're going to do -7. The negative is with that 7, so we keep it there, to the 8th over, and this would end up as -7 to the 4th power, because this is really a 1 here. So 1 plus 3 is 4, right? -7 to the 8th, and then -7 to the 4th power. And then we actually do the subtraction because we're dividing. So -7 is going to be what we end up with. And then 8 minus 4 is going to be 4, because we're doing 8 subtracted by 4, and we're getting 4. Looking at example 3, x to the 4th over x to the 3rd times x to the 8th over x to the 5th. So you can do this a couple different ways. All right, so I'll show you 2 different ways you could do this. You could do this x to the 4th. This is basically 4 plus 8 on top, and then on the bottom you have x to the 3 plus 5. So if I'm doing it this way, I'm multiplying across first, and then we get an answer of x to the 12th over x to the 8th, and then I'm going to subtract. So I end up with an answer of x to the 4th.